Welcome back to another episode of Sacred Wild Man. My name is Roy, and today I'd like to share some reflections that I have done this past week around the topic of love. Very broad one, but I'll narrow it down to two things. So one is the desire to receive love, and two is the desire to give love. Now, growing up, and especially in my counseling psychology grad program, a lot of things I was working on was around my belief that I was not lovable, that I was somehow not enough. But what I've recently discovered is that something even more under the surface was my desire to give love. And so somewhere along the way, I internalized the message that to give my love, to give my care and affection to people, to the world, is not okay. It's inappropriate, it's too much, it's offensive, or it's inconvenient to others. And so what I did then was start to coil in on myself. I no longer displayed or showed love or my affection because, well, what if this inconveniences somebody else? What if they don't like it? What if they don't want it? And the consequence of that over this period of my life has been not showing up anymore. As you see on my website, one of the, main statements or mission statements is that my passion is to support men in ending their own internal oppression so that they can fully offer their gift to the world. And so while we experience certain things in our life that will give us this message that, you're too much, your laughter is too loud, or your desire to display affection is not okay. Yes, there are outside influences that weigh on us, but then in the end, we are still the one who internalizes the message that this is not okay. And so we withdraw our gift, we withdraw from the world, and we kind of longingly and sometimes then bitterly and resentfully look outside and see the people or the world and think, they don't deserve my love, or, they should accept my love, but they don't, and they're bad for doing that, or something along those lines. And one of the most recent lessons that I've learned about this is the desire to give, this deep yearning and longing to show one's love, to show my love. In this case, it's with a specific woman, It's an incredibly intense, at times painful feeling or emotion or sensation, experience to bear. The best poem that I have come across that describes this is one by Khalil Gibran titled On Love, and I'll link the reading of it in the description. I highly recommend you check it out. It's about 5 minutes. Beautiful, heart-wrenchingly beautiful poem on love. And so this was something I experienced recently, is that I have such a huge desire to give love. And this has been a huge journey to get here, because prior to that, I was always focused on getting love to receive love from another person. And if you've gone through some of my old videos about the nice guy, as a recovering nice guy, much of my way of doing that before was giving in order to get, right? I'll give you these things, I'll give you affection or gifts, and therefore you owe me something in return. And that was how I functioned much of my life. And only recently am I realizing that old story, those old patterns and behaviors are actually fading away because I've got myself internally. I'm able to catch those moments when I fall into neediness or anxiety and be like, all right, let's take a step back here. But what I was not ready for this time is the extreme and deep desire to give love. It's like I have so much to give, not only to a woman to myself, to the entire world. And the pain of it is there are times where the people around us, maybe that's a romantic interest, or friends, family, or the world, seems like they don't want it. Maybe they reject it, maybe they despise it, or more likely, they're just not ready for it. Right? Something within themselves is blocked. Or sometimes it's just like there's no resonance here, there's no actual connection here. Right? And so what was so profound about this recent lesson on love and my desire to set my love free, set my care and affection, my power and my delight free, is I finally felt the full weight of it, at least in this most recent passage. Essentially what I did was I acknowledged this deep desire to give love. Give love to a woman where she might not be ready for that. She might not even want that from me specifically. And that's okay, because part of love is about honoring free will. Nobody else owes us anything, even if we make them the focus and attention of our love. And so I acknowledged the deep weight, the yearning there. And I went through some processes to work with it. I listened to some music that hits on that deep longing and yearning. I did some breath work, did a lot of heavy sobbing, and then I did some mirror work where I basically looked myself in the mirror and I said, you have so much desire. You desire to give so much. And you are the bravest man that I know. You're the bravest man that I know, and I love you. I love you. I love you. And in this group that I'm in, which is around conscious relationships, just a gathering of people here to talk about relationships and our desire for these more sacred unions and relationships that are, I guess, a yearning for something more and a departure from what has been ways in which people do relationships unconsciously or reactively. One of the people who facilitates this group talked about how when we feel this deep yearning and longing, the best thing that we can do is allow ourselves to feel it, to put it out here, right? Even if that's just a process by ourselves, or it could be with a therapist, coach, or some sort of healer. But when we do that, when we put it out here, we express it, we speak to it, we acknowledge it. In essence, we're giving it to God, we're giving it to Source, we're giving it to the divine, whatever you want to call it. And in that, there's an act of surrender. There's an act of, this is far bigger than just myself. And in the words of the woman who runs the business mastermind I'm part of, she describes this as dying at the altar of love. We surrender ourselves at the altar of love. And this is the greatest hero's journey or rites of passage for a person. And so I did that, and then I went to bed because it's like, all right, I'm not going to spend the entire night here just wallowing in it. And that was a big separation too, that this wasn't a wallowing like I have done many times before. Why doesn't she return my affections? What more do I need to do? Maybe I need to do more. Like those stories, although they popped up, they were easily released because this isn't what it's about. It's ultimately about my huge desire to give, and that it has nowhere to go. And there was a post that I saw that described this well. It said, grief is just love that has nowhere to go. And specifically, grief around the desire to give. And it's like, wow, this is really powerful, because I feel it to be true in this moment. There's nowhere for it to go. And so, really, it had to come back to me. Giving that love to myself, to acknowledge, like, yeah, you feel all this. Isn't this beautiful? And isn't this tragic at the same time? Beautifully tragic. And wow, what a divinely human experience. And the next day, I had a workshop to run. It's my Setting Boundaries with Women workshop. And so I thought, all right, I'm still feeling some of this ache this morning, but I got a workshop to run. I got other men to show up for, and also show up for myself. So I got myself in that state, ran the workshop, had a great time, and then I felt good. It's like, yeah, I did that. And I was in a pretty, I guess, playful and light mood. And then I went to the grocery store, and I saw right in front these sunflowers for sale, $5 for a bunch of 5. And I was like, man, I love the color. Like, I love the color of sunflowers, the bright yellow. And then I thought of this woman. And it was kind of the most natural procession of feeling or event or action. I saw the sunflowers, I thought of her, and then the thought, I want to give these to her. I want to get these for her. And that was it. That simple. I like nice things. I like her. I'm going to get her the nice things. That's it. There was no sort of strategy behind it, which sometimes has happened in the past, right? I'm going to get this woman this thing at this specific time, in this specific manner, so hopefully I can get what I want, right? Again, it goes back to that nice guy, giving in order to get. Ultimately, my desire is to extract value from another person for myself, as opposed to approaching that person to give value. Like, I'm just charming, charismatic, and irresistible, and that's why I'm here, because I want to give that to you, right? For whatever reason, I feel this way for you. And so I got the sunflowers, and I was going to give it to her the next day. And I thought to myself, man, like, do I need to give a reason? Like, what if she asks a reason? Why are you getting me these sunflowers? What do you think we are? Or, to be clear, I asked her out months ago. She said yes, and then she said no the next day. So a little bit of context. But yeah, there are some of those narratives, like, what if she asks for a reason? What if other people see me and they're like, what is this guy doing giving sunflowers to this woman? You know, what's that about? And all these reasons started to pop up of like, man, I need to justify or explain myself of why I'm doing this. And then I thought, no, I don't. I don't need any reason. I don't need to justify myself to anyone. It is as simple as I saw a nice thing. This woman is nice. I like her. I like nice things, and therefore I'm giving this to you because that's the desire flowing from my heart. And I'm only approaching to give. And what she makes of it, what other people make of it, that's on them. She doesn't even have to receive them. She doesn't even have to like them. Other people can think I'm a weirdo, and that's okay. But in that moment, I honored that pure desire to give. Just like children and infants. It's this pure desire to give, to love, with no strings attached to it, and with no self-consciousness, or being self-conscious about it. And so I did. The next day I gave her the sunflowers. I went in, I said, hey, I brought you some sun. She said, oh, thank you for the flowers. And that was it. And that's all I needed to do. And it was so liberating to set myself free to love, to show affection, with no strings attached, with no demand that I be met or received in any particular way. And that has kind of shifted my entire week, even up to this point, where I've been so much more playful, dorky, quick-witted, just enjoying myself. Here and there I'll feel the aches of the longing and yearning, but ultimately it's been this huge, amazing kind of rite of passage, being obliterated by love and desire, to realize, wow, I can set myself free to give my love to the world, to a woman, and to myself, right? To honor that in myself, this beautiful, intense desire. And with that comes so much freedom. Right? I can choose when I want to give it. I can choose when I even hold it back. Not out of resentment or anything, but just be like, maybe right now it's not the time. And so I'll rein it in a little bit, but I can offer this to myself, and I can offer this to the world. Because ultimately this is in service to love. And yeah, that's it. That's the reflection. That's the gift I received this time. And I think that's all I have to say about that. I'm still in the process of kind of integrating that and living that out. But I think if this is something that we can all experience within ourselves, to honor our deep desire to give, and that, yes, it is also tragic and intensely painful when it feels like the object of our love, whether that's another person, a certain project, or what have you, does not receive that in the way that we want. It can be so painful. And yet, that pain can also be transformative. That pain can also be alchemized to liberate oneself, to set oneself free to love even more. And it starts with ourselves. To be able to love ourselves in those moments where we might be tempted to kill our desire off, right? This is too much. I don't want to bear this anymore. Or we turn it on others and be like, they're not giving me what I want or need. It's their fault, right? We get to become love ourselves. And we get to, per that poem by Khalil Gibran, live in the heart of God. Of wow, this is what it feels like to love without any conditions or strings attached. It doesn't mean we don't feel the yearning or the ache at times, but our ability to love becomes so much more powerful and liberated. And so the way in which we walk around, operate in the world, is entirely different, and people feel that. So that's all I wanted to share. And to you who are watching, may you honor the gift of your love and your desire to give so much, as well as your desire to receive. And may you be liberated, even through pain. May you be liberated to set your love, desire, joy, delight, power free. Because that is a gift that the world needs. And it is also a gift for you as well.